I would definitely say family. I get emotional about it because it's a pretty fantastic place.
Kuper Academy is an English language private school on the West Island of Montreal. They have programs from preschool to Sec 5, or grade 11 as it's known outside Quebec. Suzanne Scarrow is a proud Kuper Academy parent. She has 3 boys who've gone there since they were little. They've enjoyed the high academic standards, the robust athletic programs, but now that they're starting to graduate, what Suzanne finds she appreciates most about the school is the sense of family that her family found there. Suzanne, how long ago did your relationship to Kuper Academy begin?
We started when Mackenzie, my eldest, was in grade 2, so I think that's roughly 10 years ago.
And what led you to Kuper?
The West Island is just off of, out of the city, and we were looking for a more structured education for the boys. It was 2 of them at the time. And having not grown up in Quebec, I really wanted to make sure that I could facilitate or help facilitate their education from an English perspective. So for me, it was a good fit because even though it's a bilingual school, all the administration is done in English. So we were just looking for something that would suit both kids' needs, and Kuper Academy is one of the only private schools that has an elementary on the West Island of Montreal.
And as well, from the website, I see that it's the largest English-speaking private school in Quebec. Is that correct?
I believe so, absolutely.
When you were choosing the school for your boys, was it an easy decision or more of a process? How did that go?
It was a pretty easy decision once we walked through the doors of the mini academy. We were met with a lot of warmth, and it felt like home. Their teaching philosophy was right exactly where us as parents wanted it to be. There's structure, but there's also a lot of love, and they make sure the kids are respectful, and it's structured, but they still have time for fun, and there's lots of extracurricular activities for them to be involved in, and they're heavy on the math and science, which was important for us.
Would you tell me about your boys currently at the school and who they are as students?
Well, I have Jesse, who's in grade 7. He is all 3 of my boys are pretty strong students. Jesse is not in all the advanced programs, but holds himself at about an 80 average. And he's also a sportsman, so he plays a fair amount of sports and is involved in the soccer team, and was playing basketball in elementary, and typically very involved. Robbie is my son going into grade 11, and he's quite academic, and he would be in the advanced math classes and the advanced sciences. So, and he's athletic, but not fully involved in all the school sports. And then my son that graduated was heavily involved in the hockey program, and then took it on to prep school, and is now on his way to university ahead of where his friends in Quebec would be. So he left Quebec and went to Ontario. He skipped the CEGEP and ended up, he's going to be in university a year ahead of his peers.
And why is that? Is that because of what happened at Kuper?
Yeah, well, it's part of his experience. I mean, he ended up graduating in grade 11, and then decided he wanted to go to prep school and continue to play some hockey. And as parents, we wanted him to stay in Canada, so we ended up going to Ontario and doing a grade 12 at Lakefield, and with his hockey, with his soccer, and had a fantastic year. And that was due to his experience at Kuper. When he went through the high school, went through the hockey program, it sort of gears the boys towards doing a prep school program.
So, and of course, we're dealing with a different school system here. That normally in Quebec, you would graduate a little earlier, but then go to Cégep before the university starts. So,
exactly.
Slightly different trajectory.
Slightly different.
Would you tell me about this hockey program?
So Mackenzie started playing hockey with the school in grade 4. We didn't go to the school because of that, but he happened to be a sportsman and a student athlete. So he started playing hockey with Kuper in grade 4. And then when he went on into high school, he, tried out and made the teams and continued to play hockey. And it became part of who he was and how he was as a student. So the hockey program for the high school kids, typically they miss about a day a week of school, so they have to really be disciplined in their studies, and they're accountable. And if your marks fall below a certain average, you're not playing your sport anymore. So these boys and girls, they ended up finding a way to study and stay on top of everything, including their sport. So it's a good program. It really teaches the kids some discipline.
Would you say Kuper has a large or well-developed athletics program outside of hockey as well?
Absolutely. They strive to make sure their teams are developed, and it's always held at based on their level of education as well. No one who is falling between the cracks can continue to play, so kids tend to step up and really do their studies so that they can continue to play on their team. In terms of like GMAA, we usually have competitive teams, so it's a lot of fun for the kids.
Can you tell me about what this does for the culture and values at Kuper? What that says about what the school values and the culture there? What you were saying about the sports and the interplay between academic life.
Well, from our experience, and we've had a very good experience with having 3 student athletes, the kids just become fairly disciplined in their studies, and they also they have a team philosophy. They are very welcoming to others, and they just really embrace the whole community aspect of it, which is really great. I mean, they really feel at home, and that everybody is involved. So it's a real community family type of environment when you have student athletes, and they work together and they play together, and so they work hard and they play hard, and it's a nice way to raise teenagers. They're very focused and very structured, and it's worked out really well for us.
Suzanne, the thing I'd like to ask you about next, we're here to take a critical look at each school. We're not here to just pump their tires. We're here to help other parents who are trying to pick the right place for their families. If we flick the switch and tomorrow you were head of school, what would you start working on to make Kuper a stronger school and a better place?
So some of the things that they have been working on that improve every year, and it will be interesting to watch it improve as we're dealing with sort of these critical times, is their level of technical support and technology for the kids just on an education basis. They've been striving to get to a place where they're web learning and on iPads, and they're not quite there yet, but they're doing a pretty good job of getting there. So I would think that would be one thing that I would push them a little bit further on.
Excellent. Anything else come to mind?
Their resources. It's kids come to Kuper that are already academically not set up for success, but anybody that potentially has a learning disability or struggles. Kuper doesn't always have the best resources. They're doing a better job of it, but I think that can be improved upon as well.
We've talked a bit about about the importance of athletics at Kuper and the culture and values around that. What would you tell me about what Kuper is like from a strictly academic perspective? What happens in the classroom that's distinctly Kuper Academy?
So that's really what drew us to Kuper Academy 10 years ago, was the fact that from a very early age, the kids were set up for success. The teachers, there was always homework, and it's not that I'm a believer in homework, but I feel that the kids would come home, they would do their work. In kindergarten, they were already starting to read and recognize French words. And then by grade 1, full on reading. They just academically, they set a pretty high standard, and the kids learn very, very early on that it's an important part of their day. So and like I had mentioned before, the sciences and math are quite strong, and I think that that does very well, especially in the Quebec system when you're looking at CEGEPs and stuff. It's good to have.
You were saying how your middle son is taking the advanced math and science courses, and you've mentioned this priority, how math and science was a priority for yourself. What have you experienced at Kuper that makes you stand by the strength of the program there in terms of math and science?
Well, I can only speak to experience, and so when I look at my eldest, Mackenzie, when he left Kuper, he was doing good. He wasn't in the 90s or anything, but he had a nice strong average. He then went on to Lakefield College School, which academically is quite strong, and he was able to find his way very quickly without the aid of mom, because he was living at boarding school. So he found his way and had the study skills already ingrained in him, and then was able to bring his average up that much more, and just last week hit accept at Queen's University. So he strived to attain some goals that weren't without, they weren't not in his reach. He really did a bang up job, and I give Kuper a lot of credit for that. Specifically, they set him up well for success.
Were there other subject areas as well that were important for any of your three sons at Kuper?
Well, they all, their English and their French are all strong as well. And Kuper holds their education at a pretty high standard. And if you look at the statistics, they're not ranked the best, but they do well.
If you were to make some rankings of your own and to choose three things that you value about Kuper more than anything else that it offers, what would those be?
I would, for me, academics, they don't fall short in my list of importance, but the fact that they've helped me raise three super compassionate, kind kids speaks volumes. They really help develop their character, and they really teach them a little bit about being good citizens in amongst their community, which I find is very important. It's not just about the academics and where they'll go with that afterwards, but the fact that I have some pretty well-rounded kids, I give some of that credit to Kuper Academy.
You might say that as a mom of three boys who have been to Kuper Academy, you have a special level of expertise in regards to this school. Is there something that you've noticed or appreciated about Kuper that another person might not see?
I'm pretty heavily involved from a student, like from a parent perspective, with the school. I feel that, you know, even though I'm paying for their education and it is private and I do hold them accountable, I also feel that we have to work together to make sure the kids are set up for success. And I like Kuper really listens and really engages in the community, and if you go to them with a concern, they're pretty quick to help resolve that. I would think so. Yeah, I would say that, if that makes sense.
Is there a typical Kuper parent?
I mean, no, there really isn't. We have all walks of life. Because we are not funded by the government at all. We sort of, there's a bit of a loophole because anybody can come to Kuper. So we have a lot of different countries, which I think is really nice for my children to see and to understand all different cultures and different races, and really embrace the fact that you know, we're a human race, and that involves all different colors, race, cultures, countries. So that is I really embrace and enjoy about Kuper.
When you do talk to other Kuper parents, do you find that there's a common thread in terms of what they've come to find, what they prioritize that led them to Kuper?
For sure. I mean, education would come first with that. Everybody that finds themselves there wants a higher level of education for their child, just to help set them up for success. That would be one commonality amongst all the parents, for sure.
What about when parents who don't go to Kuper come to you, maybe asking for advice? Do you find that you get a certain kind of line of questioning about Kuper Academy?
Often I often always get the question of how hard is it. I think parents that are looking at sending their child there at going into high school, going into grade 7, I think they really need to understand that it's a lot of work, and it won't just come easy. It will come, and Kuper does a good job of helping the child get there, but it is a lot of work right at the beginning.
What is something about, many of people watching this video are probably coming from outside Quebec, or often based in Ontario. What is it about going through elementary and secondary school in Quebec that's different than it might be in, say, Ontario? Especially like a
Um,
private school like Kuper, I'm thinking.
Well, the homework level and the level of expectation is different, for sure. There's structure, and there's ramifications if the child doesn't do their homework, or isn't accountable. They definitely hold families and the students accountable. And it's definitely not for everybody, but it's really structured.
You mentioned earlier how you appreciated uh, your son's experiences at Kuper Academy for how it's developed them as people, and taught them intangible things like compassion and engaging with the world beyond. Um, what what do you think that says about Kuper and the culture and values there?
Oh, I think it speaks volumes. I think everybody that is in that building is a fan or is rooting for those kids. They really want to make sure that their students are ready to face whatever challenges they're looking to embrace in the future. Like not every kid is a student athlete, not every kid is an academic, but they're pretty good at helping find your child's strengths and build upon those through all their different levels of activities that are available. I mean, you could be doing the you could be in the music group, or you could be in playing hockey. There's all different levels of things for all different kids.
You know, reading about Kuper and quite the breadth and depth of activities and facilities there, I'm wondering, what does the bricks and mortar, what they have there on offer in terms of facilities, how does that help deliver that promise that you're talking about of being able to have something for all kinds of different people and all kinds of different personalities?
Well, the campus itself is set up really well. Just with, like we have everything. We have a fantastic lab department. We have fantastic music department. There isn't really anything. We have a number of gyms. We have a turf soccer field. There's, like, everything is available to these kids. They're quite fortunate in that sense. But then also, we have libraries, we have computer rooms, we have art rooms. Everything is all different aspects and levels of activities are available on the campus. I mean, they can do cooking school, they can, there's all kinds of things.
Is there anything out in the world outside Kuper, in other schools, as you've become more familiar with them, that your kids haven't had, that's missing, that you wish was not?
No, there really isn't. I mean, no school is perfect, but in terms of what's available, I have nothing bad to say or feel that there's a shortfall at all. With Kuper Academy, they've covered a lot of bases. And I've been to all the other private schools as well.
What about thinking back to the position you were in when you were just going through the process and just trying to make that decision? Was there a doubt that you had in your mind, or a concern back at that time that you've now seen play out?
No, there was no doubt. I mean, I think we had looked at Kuper Academy, but we had also looked at a French private school in the area as well. And Kuper excelled in everything that was a good fit for our children. But no, there wasn't anything missing at the time. Maybe some technology, but they've since improved upon that and continue to improve upon it.
Thinking back to what was going through your mind back at that time, if you could pick up the phone and give yourself, some advice or a message, as a parent who's trying to make a difficult, big decision for their children, what advice would you give yourself back then?
Well, you know what? I think I would probably tell myself to relax a little bit. It was an interesting process to go through when they're little, and the kinds of questions that I asked myself and asked of the school now seem pretty irrelevant, just in the sense that you know what, when they're little and you're considering sending them to a private institution, I think you need to give your child a little bit of grace and allow them to be a child, and maybe not get so hung up on, when you're looking at K-5 for your child and you want to know what the success rate of the school is. I think there's something missing. You need to take a look back and see what your child is potentially good at, and give them a little bit of space to grow into their own human being. I think we see a lot of parents that come in, hoping for great success for their kid, and every child is different, and every child is going to find their path. And at the end of the day, as long as they're healthy and happy, it really doesn't matter. So it's just a matter of doing something that's good for your family and feels good for the child, and potentially isn't causing any anxiety or stress to that child. And sometimes you just have to know, if it's not a good fit, it's not a good fit. You really have to go based on your gut.
I can't help but be reminded earlier in our conversation, you were talking about one thing you appreciated about Kuper was how it taught and developed the full person and not just this aspect or this aspect. Am I connecting the right dots there?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I'm super proud, and I'm a super proud Kuper parent. So I just feel that they do a really good job of helping raise your child. Like, it's not, parenting is not an easy task. And I think people have to find something that is going to help each individual and make them who they're potentially going to be. And I feel Cooper's done a very good job for my three in helping guide them and build their strengths. And they're completely three different individuals, and it's lots of fun to watch them grow.
Your youngest, he's got several years left at Kuper. What is something that you're looking forward to for him to experience there?
Oh, I mean, there's lots. I mean, times are changing now, but you know, there's the grad trips and the service trips. My middle son just came back, thank goodness, right before the pandemic. He came back from Peru and had the opportunity to help build a school. And you know, there's sports trips and you know, just the drama sector of the school. He's going to have a good time. Like, he's following in his brother's footsteps, but he has his own, he wears his own shoes, so it'll be a different experience for him altogether. Academically as well, because he's different than his brothers too. So it's lots of fun for him to start to experience the things that his brothers have done.
Suzanne, before I get out of your hair, is there anything that I haven't asked that you feel I ought to? Something that's on your radar that we should be talking about?
I think maybe just in you know, thinking about what's going on in the world now in the pandemic, and just when you think about web learning and how we're going to sail these waters moving forward. I think people, when they're looking at schools, they really have to you know, take a look at that and make sure that it's a good fit, and make sure that you know, to constantly be questioning where the schools are at with their web learning and how they're structuring it. I think we're moving into a little bit of a different world, and as a parent, I obviously have some concerns, just in the sense of how are we going to make people how are we going to have human interaction if we're always doing it via Zoom, or we're doing it via Google Meet? I think there's questions that parents need to ask, and really hold schools accountable. I think it's important.
Now that we're several months into pandemic education, what have you experienced at Kuper? What has the pandemic brought out about the education at Kuper?
I think it's brought out that we still have a fairly strong base and a structure, and everybody was eager to learn and get on board. From the perspective of the staff, they were eager to learn and get on board of how they were going to navigate the classroom with their kids. I think there's a level of maturity that we have to reach in terms of the students. I think it was tough for them, and I think we have to give them a little bit of space and grace just to find their way through that. But it's been a challenge, and you know, we've now written exams through the web-based learning. We've done tests. We've handed in art assignments and music assignments, and we've done gym class this way. So it's a challenge, and I commend them for doing as the best job that they could based on the situation. And I think it'll continue to improve.
Suzanne, as a final word, if you could describe Kuper in one or two words of your own, what would they be?
I would definitely say family. They've I get emotional about it because it's it's a pretty fantastic place. I think so. I would definitely say family, and I would say loyalty. They have the kids' backs.
Suzanne, thank you so much for your time today. I really do appreciate it.
My pleasure.